If you're at all into credit cards, you've probably seen the AMEX Gold and the AMEX Platinum. But while those are the two most high-profile cards AMEX has to offer, they may not be for everyone, especially because of their high annual fees. And that's where the AMEX Blue Cash Preferred comes in, also known as the BCP. I just added this card to my rotation a few months ago, and it's quickly becoming one of my favorites. So in this video, I'm just going to run through the pros and cons that I've found with this card so that you can get a better idea of whether or not it's right for you. And if you are interested in applying after you watch the video, I'll leave my referral link in the description below. So starting things off, let's talk about the fees. So thankfully with the Blue Cash Preferred, you are going to get your first year waived. So it's going to be a $0 annual fee for that first year. And then from the second year onwards, it's going to be a $95 annual fee. Now I actually took note of all the different fees of the various AMEX cards, and the Blue Cash Preferred is one of the more affordable when it comes to the annual fee. You have the Platinum coming in at $895 a year, the Gold coming in at $325, and even the more basic AMEX Green comes in at $150 per year. And of course, you can also add additional card holders to the Blue Cash Preferred for no additional charge. So if you've got a spouse or another family member that you want to share the card with, it's really easy to do. Next up, let's quickly touch on the welcome bonus. Now, of course, the specific bonus you get may vary depending on the time of year and depending on whatever promotion AMEX is offering, but when I got my card, it was $250 once you spend $3,000 over the first 6 months. Now that bonus is really nothing crazy. There's definitely cards that are going to have better sign-on bonuses, but the good thing about it is that you can pretty much reach that $3,000 spend organically. Everyone is going to be spending at least that much money over 6 months, so you don't have to go out of your way to spend more than you normally would. But where the Blue Cash Preferred really shines is going to be the rewards. So I'm going to run through these starting from the top. You get 6% back on all grocery purchases up to $6,000 a year. For those doing the math, that's $500 per month. You get 6% back on groceries. Next, you also get 6% back on streaming services. And then below that, you're gonna get 3% back on transit. So that's gonna include buses, trains, rideshare, taxis, tolls, and parking. And then you're also going to get 3% back at gas stations. And that's gonna be not just gas itself, but also any purchases made inside a gas station as well. And then finally, you're gonna get 1% back on all other purchases. So how do these rewards actually break down into cash back that you're gonna get every single month and every single year? Well, I've done some of the math that we can go through here. First off, obviously the biggest category being groceries, where you get 6% back. If you are spending just $130 a month on groceries, which is very low in today's economy, you are basically making that annual fee of $95 back instantly. Now, if you are going all the way up to your $500 cap on groceries, that's going to be $360 in cash back annually. And I think for a family of 2 or more people, that $500 grocery cap is going to be pretty easy to hit. The only downside is that every dollar above that $500 mark is going to just earn you 1% instead of 6% cash back. Next up, the streaming category is also at 6%, and I do think this is an underrated rewards category because a lot of people, including myself, we spend way more on streaming than we actually think we do. So this is going to include things like Netflix, Disney Plus, Hulu, Apple TV, Spotify, YouTube TV, YouTube Music, and the list goes on and on and on. AMEX does have the full list of acceptable streaming services that they include for this reward on their website, but it's literally like over 100 different services. According to Google, the average American spends about $60 a month on streaming related services, and if you do spend around that amount of money, you're going to get $45 in cash back every year. And another important note on the streaming rewards category is that if you go for Disney Plus, ESPN, or Hulu, literally any one of those 3 services, you are eligible for a $120 annual statement credit. That's actually going to come in the form of $10 monthly statement credits. So think about that. If you get Disney, Hulu, or ESPN, you're basically automatically making back your annual fee plus like an extra $30. Next up, we have gas, which is coming in at 3%. Now, this is going to add up quickly, especially if you're a commuter going into the office 5 days a week, and if you have multiple cars in the family. The average American is going to be spending about $150 a month at gas stations, and that's going to come out to $55 annually in cash back. Now for transit, which is also coming in at 3%, this is a little bit harder to calculate and is going to depend on you and your situation. If you live in a city or an urban environment, your cashback on transit is going to be way higher than if you are someone who lives in the suburbs or a more rural area. But I also set that at $150 a month. And remember, that's going to account for things like taxis, Ubers, buses, trains, things like that. And that's also going to come out to $55 annually in cashback. So now if we look at our total estimated cash back for the year, just using our premium rewards categories, we're looking at $635 in annual cash back. And remember, that's assuming you're going to be hitting your grocery spend of $500 a month and hitting those average spends for transit and gas and your streaming services. And that also does take into account the $120 streaming credit that you'd get if you use Disney, ESPN, or Hulu. Now that's a pretty significant amount of cash back that's going to easily offset that annual fee. And remember, it's not even including any other purchases that are going to accrue that 1% cash back. And then of course, Amex is going to provide you some other benefits if you do get the Blue Cash Preferred. These are going to include purchase protection. So this is going to be reimbursing you for lost products or stolen or defective products within a 90-day period. It's also going to include an extended warranty, car rental insurance, and Amex offers, which if you haven't used them before, pretty much every credit card company has them. It's just companies will basically offer rotating awards and cash back that you can activate every single month if there's a specific store that you like to shop at. These are for the most part pretty standard benefits that you'd get with a lot of other cards. I'd say the one that stands out the most is probably going to be that purchase protection. So while the Blue Cash Preferred is a great card, it's not going to be without its downsides. So let's cover a few of those now. First off, this is probably one of the main downside that people will point out, and that's going to be the $6,000 annual cap on groceries. So if you have a family of 3 or more people, definitely if you have a family of 4 or a family of 5, you're very likely going to be exceeding $500 a month in groceries. Now, the plus side to that is that you are going to be easily hitting that $360 annual cash back if you're hitting that limit. But the downside is you're only going to be getting 1% cash back on every dollar over that. So it would be really nice if American Express extended this cap. I think it's been set at $6,000 for quite a few years now. So if they bumped it up to like $8,000 or even $10,000 annually, I think it would make it even more of a compelling card. Next up, another downside is that it's not going to be a great card for dining. While it is an amazing card for groceries, if you don't really buy groceries that much and you more often than not find yourself going out to lunch, going out to dinner, maybe you're just not really into cooking at home, then it may not be the best card for you because you're not going to really get any multipliers on dining. And then for me, the third main downside is that this is just not a great card for travel. And that's going to be for a few different reasons that I have listed here. First off, you're not going to have any lounge access, and you're also not going to get any travel multipliers when you go to book flights or hotels. You also aren't going to be able to transfer any of your rewards to a travel portal. Instead, you can only redeem your cashback as a statement credit directly to your Amex. And maybe the most annoying thing when it comes to travel is that the Blue Cash Preferred does carry foreign transaction fees if you use it outside the United States. I learned this the hard way because I didn't check initially when I used the card abroad, and it does carry that 3% foreign transaction fee. So basically, if you're traveling outside the US, you really want to be using another card that doesn't have those transaction fees. So really, to summarize, I think the two kinds of people who probably shouldn't be going for this card are going to be, one, the person who dines out way more than they buy groceries, and two, the person who's traveling frequently all throughout the year, especially outside the country. So these are going to be people who are going on maybe 3 or more trips in a calendar year. So who should get the American Express Blue Cash Preferred? Well, I think this is pretty simple. If groceries, gas, and transit make up a large portion of your monthly spending, then the Blue Cash Preferred is a phenomenal cashback card. And if you consume a lot of entertainment, including TVs, movies, and music across multiple different streaming services, then that 6% cashback on streaming is going to be an amazing added bonus to the services that you already pay for anyway. Now, there are some other great cashback cards on the market, like the Chase Freedom Flex and the Citi Custom Cash, but for me, that 6% cashback on groceries with the Amex and the unlimited 3% back on gas makes it currently my favorite cashback card. But moving forward, I do plan on pairing the Amex with either one of my Chase or Bank of America travel cards so I can avoid those transaction fees when I'm traveling abroad. And guys, that is going to do it for this video. I hope it's been helpful. Please leave a like if you've enjoyed, and I will see you in the next video.